Good evening, fright fiends. 'Tis I, Erlik the Gorelord, a god to some, a devil to others, but a film buff to all. And I welcome you to the first installment of my spoiler-free review series, Fresh Cuts. I tell you, mortals, I've just taken in one of the darkest and most unnerving thrillers that I've seen in some time. A film that left me emotionally stirred, and a film that is sure to leave any young man with some skeletons in his closet much to fear. Join me now as I take a fresh cut into Emerald Fennell's newest tale of revenge, Promising Young Woman. Promising Young Woman is the brainchild of Emerald Fennell, known as a writer, actress, and producer on such work as Killing Eve and The Crown, making this film her feature debut as a director. The film stars Carey Mulligan as Cassie, a former mid-school dropout who, after hearing about the soon-to-be wedding of a man who assaulted her best friend some years ago, decides to seek a bit of revenge on he and others involved in destroying the poor girl's life. Things get a bit complicated for Cassie when she reconnects with another former classmate of hers, Ryan, played by Burnham. There were also wonderful support roles, Lavern Cox and Clancy Brown, just to name a couple. While not an outright horror film, this tale cuts deep as a thriller, showcasing how the deeds committed when one is young, while often forgotten by most, can stick with others for years, sometimes driving them to the brink and causing them to take actions they otherwise wouldn't consider. The film has a visual style and tone that is quite commanding, and while humorous at times, it never fully loses the edge and the uncertainty that it creates. The characters are all well defined, and the acting is top-notch across the board, especially Carey Mulligan's performance. This is arguably her greatest performance to date, and she brings something to this character that is both endearing and unnerving. Even bent on revenge, she is still a woman with a good heart, which makes her struggles all the more painful to watch unfold. Something else that I really appreciate about Fennell's writing and direction in this film is the fact that she takes a sensitive social issue and rather than making it predictably political and one-dimensional, she actually crafts a very touching story, one that seems, almost real. So real, in fact, that there isn't a need for scares or jolting imagery or anything terribly horrific. The heart of the story itself, if taken for what it is terrifying enough. And it takes a special talent to deviate from the cookie-cutter approach to such subject matter, making a film work on such a deep and visceral level. This film is not frightening in a predictable way, nor a twisted psychological way, nor in a supernatural way. And as I said, it doesn't rely on ghastly visuals, but rather grabs at whatever sense of empathy one might have for anybody who has suffered at the hands of a predator, or a group of them. While much is ultimately left to the viewer's imagination, some of the shots really help tell this story. For there are several scenes in which Mulligan's character, Cassandra, doesn't even need to speak or emote in any dramatically physical way. She is able to conjure emotion just by the way things are set within the visual style of the film. A huge plus. If I were to find one thing worthy of criticism, and it's nothing major at all, it would be that the film offers little of an alternative to the segment of young men who are either predatory by nature, or at least willing to turn a blind eye to such things. But all in all, Fennell does a fantastic job at making the viewer cheerlead for Cassie in her pursuits, especially once she reconnects with Ryan and inches us towards a savage climax. Only it isn't at all what most will be expecting. To be honest, I actually felt this film tug at my devilish black heart a bit, and by the end I was nothing short of highly impressed. I walked into this film expecting a revenge movie with a lot of splatter in it, and while the lack thereof would normally leave me limp and disappointed, I am the Gorelord after all. I realized quickly that this movie is so well crafted on all fronts that those elements aren't even remotely needed. When it is said and done, I must give this gripping thriller 4 out of 5 devil heads, and I must say that with this being the first feature-length film by Miss Fennell, I cannot wait to see what lies ahead from her in the future. Brava! I am Erlik the Gorelord, and I'll be seeing you all sooner or later. Mortals, like, share, subscribe, toll the bell, and share your thoughts in the comments.